Hey, good morning. Today is Isra Chag of Hanukkah, the day after Hanukkah. Baruch Hashem, it's a nice snowy day here in Muncie. If you're out of Muncie, hope you have some nice weather there. Um, Today we're learning the 20th Perek of Shabbos. We're almost there, and we today's shiur is sponsored Lila Nishmas Aaron Nachum and Simcha Cohen, Yeshua Mordechai ben Shepsel, Bracha Sarah Shmuel Leib, and B'yam Moshe ben Yosef ben Hashem will have an Aliyah, and Refuah Shlema for Ada Sarah Bas Leah, Chana Pesel Bas Yenta, Yisrael ben Rachel Leah, Rachel Bas Pesel Zelda, Avram Yitzchak ben Risha, and Chaya Bas Dova Bela. Refuah Shlema So Shar Chali Yisrael. And this year is also sponsored by our friends at Everest Equity Group. Thank you for your sponsorship. And if you're in the market for a new mortgage, please reach out to them. You can contact me for their contact information or look it up online. Okay, let's go. Perek Chaf Mishnah Aleph. We are talking about the malachos that are usher on Shabbos, but they are prohibited on Yontif. Now, most malachos are usher. Most malachos that are usher on Shabbos are also on Yontif too, with the exception of ochel nefesh, which is preparing food, and we're going to talk about that now. Okay, Rabbi Lezer says, "Tolin es hamishmeres b'Yontif." This is Perek Chaf Mishnah Aleph. We may hang a strainer over the mouth of a container on Yontif. Because even though that's a derbanan act of bona, it is mutter because it's a malacha of food preparation, and that is mutter on yontif. We noticed in the Tliya b'Shabbos, and Shabbos when when malachas ochel nefesh is also aser, then a strainer then such a strainer cannot be hung over a container. So you can pour wine into a strainer that had already been hung before Shabbos. You can't hang it fresh, but you can use one that's already been set up. Um, Even though straining the wine separates the wine from the sediment, Rebbe does not forbid it under the laws of borer, since this is not the usual manner of separating, selecting. But the Chachamim say, "Ein tolin es mishmeres b'yantif." We cannot hang a strainer over a container even on yantif. Only malachas that are directly involved in preparing food are mutter on yantif, not malachas related to making food preparation possible. So things that are directly involved are great, but if it's a secondary step, then it's not mutter on yantif. They know still it's leave a Shabbos. Normally we pour wine into a hanging strainer on Shabbos. I will know still to be yantif, but we can pour wine into a hanging strainer on yantif. Preparing wine by straining it is an actual preparation of food and is therefore mutter on yantif under ochel nefesh. Mishnah Beis, Nosnin Mayin Al Gabi Ashmar Bishvil Shiyitzalu. On Shabbos, we can pour water over wine sediments. I mean, the wine that's left in a strainer before Shabbos, so that the sediments are strained of any wine that is absorbed in them. As the water passes through the sediments, it extracts the wine from them. The water wine mixture then drains into the container below it. This is not considered an act of borer because the water was poured in was clear and not in need of any straining to begin with. Therefore, it's not considered borer. Umesanin as hayayim besudrin ubekfiva mitzvahs, and we may filter drinkable wine through a cloth and through a basket made of from palm twigs to eliminate the undesirable particles that collect in the wine. Since that type of wine is drunk as is, filtering it is the raisa borer. However, since most people prefer to filter it, then that's a then the rabbanan required him to do it in an unusual manner by using a cloth or a palm branch basket rather than a strainer. We noticed in Beitza and we may crack a raw egg into a mustard strainer in order to improve the appearance of the mustard seeds that are in the container below. Although the thinner yolk drains through the strainer and drips into the mustard below, while the thicker egg white remains above, cracking the egg into the strainer is not usher on account of borer. The osin anumulin anumelin b'Shabbos, and we can make any amount of anumelin, which is a mixture of wine, honey, and pepper on Shabbos. Uh, Even though making this beverage involves a considerable amount of work and expertise, it is not considered excessive and professional toil, a tircha that is generally usher on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says there is tircha yisera here. You're making large amounts of anumelin. The Shabbos because therefore on Shabbos we may only make a cup, one cupful at a time. Yantov the lagin, but a Yantiv when malachas ochel nefesh are more lenient, he can make it. He can make this concoction in a bottle, one bottle full at a time. And on Chol Moed, when you can do more malach than you can at Yantif, you can even make it in a barrel, one barrel full at a time. Rabbi Sadek says the amount one may make is not dependent on whether it's Shabbos, Yantif, or Chol Moed. Rather, it depends on the number of guests one has. Even on Shabbos, one may make as much as necessary to satisfy the needs of his guests, even more than a barrel full. And even a Chol Moed, one may not make more anomelin than necessary, even if it's less than a barrel full, just to see what his needs are for Yontif. Mishnah Gimel, Ein Shorin Es HaChiltis Biposhrim. We may not soak as, I don't know how to pronounce this, as saftidia, the type of sharp herb, in warm water to make a liquid that's typically used for medicine. Since preparing medicine often involves grinding herbs, as we know, which is a malacha derbanan, it's malacha. Preparing any medicine, even if it does not involve grinding, is considered a wheat activity, and that's therefore it's derbanan. Although no stand the chometz, but when we put asafetida into vinegar to make a liquid that is typically used as a food dip. We may not soak veggies in water so that any waste mixed with the veg will float to the top. Below shapano, so nor may we rub veggies with our hand in order to remove any waste stuck to them. These activities are usher under the malacha of borer. I will notice near the socha hakavra or the socha kalkala. One may put veg mixed with waste into a sieve or into a basket to store them, even though the waste may fall through the holes or the sieve, since this is not his intention. Ein korban es hatevin b'kavra. We may not sift straw with a sieve in order to separate it from the bristles, which are not fit for animal consumption. Normally, one put the sieve with straw in it on an elevated area so that there is space between the sieve and the ground in order that the bristles should drop through the holes in the sieve. I will not tell who bit kavra, and noticed in the socha evus. However, one may take straw in a sieve and place it in the feeding trough, even though some bristles will likely fall through the sieve while he carries it, because his intention is not to separate the bristles, but only to transport the straw. Okay, Mishnah Dalet. Gorfin milifnei hapitam. Um, we may sweep dirt from a feeding trough that is placed before an ox that is being fattened for shechita, provided that the trough is a container with a non-earthen floor, so there is no concern for any holes being filled. And if there is a lot of straw in front of the ox, we may move the straw to the sides of the on account of the dung. That is, so the ox will not step on it and dirty it with the dung on its feet. These are the words of Redosa. But the Chachamim prohibit both sweeping the trough and moving the straw. They are forbidding the trough because they are concerned that people might mistakenly think it is mutter to sweep a trough with the earthen bottom. They forbid moving the straw because some of it surely already dirty, and the animal will never eat it. Since that part of the straw has no use and is muksa, it is usher to move any of the straw at all. No to them if they have behema zu, and no if they have behema shall zu b'Shabbos. We may take the excess food from one animal and place it before another animal on Shabbos, provided that the second animal will likely eat the food. One may not, however, bring leftovers to another animal that will probably reject the food, because we assume that the second animal will not eat it. Bringing the food to the animal is therefore considered unnecessarily exerting oneself at Shabbos, which is usher. And the lesson for today, Mishnah Hey, Hakash al Gabe Amita, if straw is on the bed and one wishes to fluff it up and make it softer to lie on, well, Yanan Yado, one may not move it with his hand because it is muksa, Eliminano Begufo, but he may move it with his body because this is an unusual way of moving straw. And if the straw is set aside for Shabbos as an animal food, or shayu car or sudden, or there was a pillow or a sheet on it when Shabbos began, indicating that it was going to be used as a mattress, then one may move it even with his hand, since the straw is designated for a permissible use. It is not muksa. Okay, moving on to a different topic. Mechabesh shabale batin matirin. We may open a householder's press by removing the holding pegs and raising the upper board if the pressed garments are needed for Shabbos. They used to have, this cool contraption how to launder garments. There's some variation of it nowadays in the dry cleaners, but obviously it became a lot more technical in the past 2,000 years. Of a low kosher, but we may not press garments on Shabbos in the first place because they will not be ready until after Shabbos. It is usher to make preparations on Shabbos for a weekday. We shall coast in however, regarding a press of professional launderers, the law is that one may not even touch it because you cannot touch the press even to open it. The board of a launderer's press are pressed together so tightly that separating them resembles the malacha of soser, demolishing. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shabbos, the launderer's press is partially open before Shabbos. The pegs and the rods are somewhat loose. Matir eskulo, the shomto, one may open it completely by taking out the pegs and remove the garment. Since the press is already partially open, removing the pegs the rest of the way does not resemble demolishing. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow for Perek Chaf Aleph. Kol Tov.